Welcome to the Bravo Charlie Club podcast, making you 12.5 minutes more awesome each week. He's Ben, I'm Richard. Let's go.
Well, Richard, we've loaded up a couple of times on AI and the tech tip of the week kind of theme, but I want to move away slightly from that. I want to talk more about what's opening our eyes, and AI is a great thing to open your eyes. But I'm renaming this segment the Fully Awake Project.
Fully Awake Project, I like
and
it.
So the thing that caught me with my eyes open this week was a colleague that was showing me his laptop because he wanted to get some feedback on a presentation that he was doing. And I wasn't spying, but I couldn't help but notice that the little red dot, the icon that you have showing you have a notification, his email notification had 10,000. And
10,000.
I called it a little red dot, but it was more of an oblong, sort of long oval. And I wasn't looking too closely, but I'm pretty sure there was a plus sign at the end of it. Like almost like his laptop was like, I don't know, it's more than 10,000.
Hanging over to the next icon.
Correct. I mean, I guess my question is, what do you do? That seems insane. How do you handle your inbox?
I'm a bit ruthless on the inbox, so I don't really label anything. I don't tag anything. I archive relentlessly. So if it's something that needs to be persisted, I might star it. If it's a coupon or a voucher, a refund, something that I kind of need to keep long term, then I might keep it in. But yeah, pretty much I try and just action it or get rid of it if it's not useful. Sometimes subscriptions will build up, like short-term project. So woodworking, I got into woodworking about a month ago, completely lacking in skills and the tools and the space and everything. But you see some of those YouTube videos and those guys are amazing, whipping out a table or some cabinets or something. Yeah, I could do that. No, I couldn't do that. I'm far better off buying that stuff. But anyway, it doesn't stop me from subscribing to the newsletters, right? And then they're all coming in and you read it. You're keen for that first week and then the second week, and then you sort of start watching these guys doing joints and the whole biscuiting things up and sort of getting clamps out, and I'm like, nah, that's not unsubscribe. Yeah.
So
how about yourself? What's your strategy there? I mean, it's giving you a reaction, right?
Look, I'm inbox. I use folders relentlessly in pretty much in the same way you're describing. If there's a project that I'm working on, I'll use a folder to put everything in it and then archive. I need to know if there's something that needs to be actioned, and I deal with it as quickly as possible. And I've got a hierarchy of how quickly I'll deal with emails as well. Like if it's something that's the distraction, I'll snooze it until a time when I can come back to it. But yeah, I like to be on top of my inbox, and I don't see myself as my inbox, but it's certainly something that I'm required to do in my role, and I take that seriously. But someone who's got 10,000 emails.
I kind of use it as a bit of a to-do list, but it's not really a to-do list to you because you kind of like deal with it pretty much straight away. You snooze it so it comes back, or you file it.
The folders are the to-do list, and their hierarchy, by the project. And some projects are ongoing as well. You need to put effort into each one as you go. But yeah, I would delete the whole email account if I had 10,000 emails. It would be select goal delete. Didn't get it. Please resend. Anyway, yeah, interesting. Yeah. And look, it's not for everyone. Inbox zero is a lovely thing, but it's certainly not possible. But I'm sure there's plenty of other ways to crack that egg. There we are. Cool. I like that. Fully Awake project in the bag.
I like that. Yes,
we've become a bit of a travel podcast, Richard.
We have become a travel podcast. The free flights will probably be flowing in shortly, I hope. But what's the travel tip? This week,
I've got a shout out to Virgin. They've got a fly ahead option for people, and so I tend to book the last flight of the day, and then show up to the airport when it suits me. If my day comes to an end early, I can get to the airport and then jump on the next available. It's a wonderful perk for I think gold and higher tier flyers can use it. And interestingly, I find that the last flight of the day tends to be one of the cheaper ones. So now
Yes.
there is a
Risky
risk.
though. Risky
Yes, a good
move.
call. There is a risk because you can obviously end up being on the 9:30 when your day finished at 1 p.m. Or in fact, weather patterns can mean that you could be much later again.
I've got a funny story about that actually. So I went to Queenstown with some mates many years ago, back in my youth, let's say, when I was snowboarding a lot, and we would always get the last flight out of the day because there was a decent chance that you could be snowed in, and then because there's not so many flights in and out of Queenstown, you could be stranded there for 3 or 4 days afterwards, having to stay. And
It's
you had
horrible.
this perfect
Sorry,
excuse.
I'm sorry you were forced to stay in a ski resort for an extra 3 days.
I know, staying in a ski resort for extra
Yeah,
time.
all
Terrible.
expenses
But
paid, no
anyway,
doubt. Thank you.
indeed. What
Yeah,
insurance? You've got insurance for that. You're a distressed passenger then,
well
right?
played,
So,
well played. I
yeah.
like it.
Anyway, so it works
I
in
like that.
reverse as
That's a
well.
good tip. So there we are, another travel tip for our listeners. And speaking of which, the feedback has been piling in. What have we heard from our listeners this week, mate?
Feedback was piling in. In the last episode, you claimed that Dyson Airblades were the fifth most terrifying thing
They
on the
are.
planet,
It's not in.
and kind of got me thinking, what comes before that? What are the more scary things than the Dyson
Well, in
Airblades?
the
Lay it on me in reverse order.
in that
Build
episode, I
the
did
tension.
mention the Dyson Airblade was the fifth most terrifying thing on the planet, right behind the eastern brown snake, which is the fourth most venomous snake in the world.
Worthy,
Yeah. So
worthy.
number 3, of course, is the coastal taipan, third most venomous snake in the world. Number 2 is the inland taipan, and I don't want
Snakes. I've got a
Yeah.
snake theme. I'm detecting a
I
snake theme.
don't want snakes writing in complaining that they didn't get ranked correctly either. You go on the internet and the rankings of the snake venom, it's a bit of a shotgun approach. You're never really sure. Which,
Bad.
of
Yeah.
course, leads me to number 1, most terrifying thing on the planet, which are, of course, masseuse sandals. So I would rather crawl across broken glass towards an eastern brown snake than wear those things. They are an instrument of torture. And as a type 1 diabetic with diabetic neuropathy, there is nothing more sinister than standing in front of me with a pair of masseuse sandals.
And the other ones with all the knobbles going
Yeah,
up.
it was me dearly, but she bought me a pair of these things, and it was the first time that I felt truly alone. They are just, they should never have been allowed this side of the equator. The Swedish masseuse sandals.
Swedish masseuse sandals, number 1 on Ben's list. Avoid at all costs.
So there you go. There's the top 5. Yeah, happy for any more feedback.
Fantastic. We've also had a listener written in talking about the travel hack, the Virgin seat bid travel hack, saying that we'll have to bid 10 more Australian dollars now on every flight, thanks to the $5 trick coming in. I think we've ignited a bidding war.
Yeah, of course. I've doubled my cost. I'm making money for Virgin. Maybe there's a segue into a sponsorship of BCC podcast. Cracking airline, Virgin.
Yes.
Match made in heaven, it sounds like, partnering with us.
It's like, we love you, Virgin.
Give us a call. Well, thanks for the list of feedback, and you can reach us hello@bravocharlie.club. Leads us finally, Richard, into the conundrum of the week. And I've got to ask, this is a big one for me. Someone asks you for your advice. Can you get annoyed if they don't take it? And I'm not talking about paid advice. My best mate's an accountant. He said, I don't really care if people take my advice as long as they pay the invoice. Which I think is fair.
Which itself is good advice.
Which is fair, right? But I'm talking about a mate who rings up and says, can we get a coffee? Can we get a beer? Can we have breakfast? And pours their heart out and needs something. And then they go away and they don't do what you suggested. Can you get annoyed? Is that a thing, or how does it all work?
Oh. I think a lot of these things are context dependent, right? And sometimes people need to hear things from a couple of different angles before they take action. Getting annoyed is on the advisee. So if I give the advice and I'm getting annoyed, I'm sort of choosing to get annoyed. So try to let go of it, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose they're putting together a panel of experts to take advice from. Yeah, like my dad said.
What's your take?
My dad said you pluck a feather from every passing goose.
What does that
Well, you sort of, I like that, I'll take that and I'll put it in the kit bag.
Yeah. He's not building a doodle or something.
Yeah, well, potentially. But I think, the whole hats, haircuts and tattoos approach works for me as well. If the advice is like a hat, you can, if you put it on and it's no good, you just take it back off. Then, yeah, they probably should just take your advice and deal with it because they can quickly change their mind. But if it's a haircut, it's a little bit semi-permanent. They probably need to bubble away on that one a bit. And then the tattoos, well, they're on their own. That's like saying, should I marry someone, right? You really don't get too much of a lean in on that one. Yeah, that's my thought on it. I'm interested to see if a listener has been down a path where they've given advice which they just knew someone should take and they didn't take it and how they felt. I thought that'd be an interesting one to unpack. Yeah, there you go. Look, that's nice. It. Listeners have been BCC'd on our week. Bravo, Charlie.
And that's the pod.